Hello and welcome. This is Faceless Opinion, and you better believe it. Welcome you back to another video. When it comes to Naruto, I have a love-hate relationship with it. There are things in it that I absolutely adore, and I think it does phenomenally well at, showcasing all the cool jutsu, having some good fights, and using a good soundtrack, and how I like the world that it takes place in. While on the other hand, it does some stuff that gets on my nerves, like how the power progression throughout the series just turns into basically Dragon Ball Z with ninjas. We have the questionable narrative decisions that were made throughout the story, and let's not forget a large number of characters are criminally wasted and have very little to no moments of relevancy, a topic I already made a video about. Now, the topic I've selected for today is honestly not as important as the other issues that I mentioned. It really isn't, because it is about relationships, romantic relationships. Now, I hear you say, Faceless, why are you bringing that up? Naruto's a shonen anime. Romance is not an important issue. I agree with you 100% that romantic relationships amongst the characters really shouldn't be. However, that isn't truly the case with how often certain characters talk about how they like certain people. So much so that it is their entire character trait to fantasize about their senpai, to the point it is shoved down our throats. I feel like I have to mention it, especially since at the end of Shippuden, that these relationships end up happening without little rhyme, reason, or build up to it. So here we are, talking about how Naruto fails at establishing its relationships. There are 3 relationships in particular that I'm going to be talking about, starting with the one I have the least issues, and then going up from there. And one more thing, I am only going to be talking about the build up to them getting together, nothing after, since I consider that to be a separate talking point, and I don't want to get into that because I would have to talk about Boruto, and I don't want to. Also, no filler. Alright, let's get started.
Sexy Jutsu!
I think this one comes out of left field because I don't believe, in my opinion, that anyone was expecting Ino and Sai to get together. As I said, this one comes out of nowhere. Like, I don't recall seeing Sai and Ino spending large amounts of time with each other. Like, the only thing that comes to mind is when Naruto and Sakura took him along and they had lunch with Team Asuma, during which Sai called Ino beautiful, which, I mean, facts. If I had to make a list, Ino would be number 1 on it, but carrying on. Besides that, nothing happens that I can remember at least. Not to mention, I feel like this relationship is rather superficial because I feel like the only reason as to why Ino got with Sai was because he happened to look like Sasuke, whom she had a big crush on. While in the case of Sai, it was just a shock in general that he got together with anybody. Between you and me, I thought Sai was gay for the longest of times. No joke. I mean, he kept talking about Naruto's manhood and kept calling Sakura ugly. The only reason he called Ino beautiful was because he said the opposite of what he was going to say after remembering what happened to him after he called Sakura ugly. Which is why I never really thought those two would be an item, since I didn't think that Sai believed that, because he was originally going to call her ugly too. Not to mention, every man that I have met who wears a crop top / midriff exposing shirt is always interested in men. I'm sorry if this section is kind of short. There just isn't much to talk about with them. They don't do anything. Maybe I'm just not remembering, so if something happened that built up upon their relationship, let me know, because I'm honestly drawing blanks. I know there were some episodes that involved Shikamaru that kind of pushed those two into being a couple, but like I said, there isn't really much. Compared to the other pairings, there isn't much to discuss. I don't hate them being together, but I don't really care that they are. I guess I'm just kind of neutral on them.
Sexy Jutsu!
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this one. Don't get me wrong, I like these two being together. I think they make a good couple. I just hate how it was built up. Now, I'm going to say something incredibly unpopular, so hold off on the pitchforks until I fully explain myself. Alright, here we go. I do not like Hinata. I don't hate her. That title goes to someone else, but we'll get there when we get there.
Are we there yet?
We get there when we get there!
My big reason for my dislike of Hinata would have to be everything she says and does is all about Naruto. Like there's nothing more to her character than wanting to be his personal cum dump, which I take issue with because there are things that can be done with her that can flesh out her character. The big thing that comes to mind is that she was the heiress of the Hyuga clan and how her father was more interested in with her sister's potential than hers. Honestly, that could have made for a good character arc for Hinata, and you could factor Naruto into it as well, with him serving as an inspiring force for her, since she has those views in the actual series, so that she can actually better herself and be a good leader to the clan she might end up ruling in the future. However, that isn't the direction they went with her. They just made her into the girl who follows Naruto around, hiding in the shadows, and keeps saying, Naruto-kun, for what feels like the entire series. Now, I know some of you will say that she is shy and doesn't know how to break the ice, but she is sweet and a good person. Now, all those may be true, but her actions are kinda creepy. Think about it like this. What if the genders were reversed? Make Naruto a girl and Hinata a boy, but keep everything else the same. I am straight up telling you, everyone would end up calling boy Hinata a creepy, loser, virgin, incel stalker. You know it's true. Don't try to convince me that wouldn't be the case. When it comes to her actions, there are a few that I take issue with, particularly during the Chunin exams. The first instance would be when they were all taking the Rin exam, during which Hinata offered to let Naruto copy off of her test, which could have resulted in not just her getting disqualified from the exam, but her entire team as well. She nearly cost both Kiba and Shino a chance at becoming Chunin, because she wanted to help Naruto. And honestly, good on Naruto for not cheating, and I think he said as much that she could have gotten in trouble if she did allow him to copy her answers. Then, let's fast forward to after the fight with Naruto and Kiba, where Hinata checks on Naruto and gives him some ointment for his wounds. Granted, she does the same thing with Kiba, but only after checking on Naruto first. Think of it like this. You get laid out and are being carried out on a stretcher after being beaten up by who many consider at this point in time to be the class screw-up. And then you have one of your own teammates tend to your opponent first, then you getting the sloppy seconds. Don't forget that she nearly got herself killed with her fight with Neji. Kiba straight up told her to forfeit that match if she had to go up against either Neji, who was the prodigy of their clan and hates her guts, or Gaara, because at that point he was a total psychopath, because Kiba knew it was not going to end well. Guess what? The opposite happened. She kept fighting a no-win fight because Naruto had faith in her. That's nice and all, but let's not forget, she almost died. Neji was going to murder her, and it took 4 people to stop him. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be the last time that Hinata throws her life away for Naruto. Fast forward to when Hinata tried to fight Pain, and nearly died, but not before confessing her love to Naruto. I don't like this scene for 2 reasons. One, I feel like the events would have played out the same way regardless. Allow me to explain. I am not doubting that Naruto cares about Hinata. It is very clear he does. But I don't believe that him snapping the way he did was because he loves her, but is because that she is his friend and just saw her quote-unquote die. What makes her different from anyone else? Like, replace Hinata with Sakura, Sai, Shikamaru, Rock Lee, frankly any of Naruto's friends, and I feel like he would have snapped and would have gone Ninetales. I mean, remember how worked up Naruto was when Gaara was abducted by the Akatsuki? Bloody hell, replace Hinata with Sasuke, and I am telling you, not even Minato could have stopped Naruto from unleashing the Ninetales. And 2, that her confession honestly goes nowhere. It's not mentioned again after this arc. Honestly, you can chalk it down to it being that Naruto is dumb or bad writing. Viewer's choice. Initially, from what I've heard, that apparently the story was supposed to end after the Pain arc. And if that is indeed true, I honestly would not have an issue with the scene and would think it would have been a nice way of those two getting together. Now, I know a lot of people like to talk about Naruto, the last movie, and how it builds up the relationship between Naruto and Hinata, but I'm not going to talk about that because the movies aren't canon. Wait, hold up, I'm getting a text. What? What do you mean the movie is canon? I don't believe you. Holy shit, it actually is. Damn it. Now I have to go watch it. BRB. Alright, I'm back. I watched the movie. To be blunt, I didn't really like it, but I'm not going to go into detail why. That alone can merit its own video. If you want me to talk about it in detail and make that its own video, leave a comment. So when it comes to Hinata in this movie, I am not going to lie. During the beginning of it, I wanted to smack her upright the head. Her flippancy about giving Naruto the scarf was a little annoying about how indecisive she was. Then how she literally broke down crying when she saw Naruto wearing a scarf. I'm sorry, what? You know, common sense would dictate that he might be wearing a scarf because it is cold outside. It is snowing after all. Besides, she didn't even know where he got it from and was jumping to conclusions like he is in love with someone else. Woman, you don't know. He could have bought it at the store. It could have been a birthday gift. He could have owned it and never had an opportunity to wear it and decide now was a good time. Were you not expecting him to have gotten a new scarf in the time in which you first met him and his original scarf got damaged? That had to have been how many years since that first encounter? Hinata, you are entering dumb bitch territory. Don't get me started when she got abducted and was holding onto the scarf for dear life and had to be rescued by Naruto before she fell. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't she supposed to be a jonin at this point? If not, she could have been able to at least climb up the building or use her chakra to walk on the wall. God damn, movie, you are really trying to make me not like her. But she does redeem herself, and because she is a good sister. Ripping out another man's eyes is hardcore and is worth a few points of respect. It is nice to see she cares about someone other than Naruto. I feel bad for her teammates though. Never seen her care for them as much as she does for Naruto. Though I will say that was wholesome seeing the two of them get together. I do like them together, and I don't really want to dislike Hinata. I just wish more was done with her than being a love interest for the main character, because there is a lot more to her character than just saying, Naruto-kun, 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 Naruto-kun. I think, and many others will agree, that she deserved better.
Sexy Jutsu!
Yeah, it was only a matter of time until we got to this one. I'm gonna be direct. I hate this relationship. It has to be the most one-sided love stories. No, wait, correction. This is not a love story. This is an obsession that somehow manifests into a romance that to this day I still question. As much as I criticize Hinata about her obsession with Naruto, at least with her she has things that can at least make her function as her own individual person. Unlike Sakura, whose entire existence is to worship at the altar of one Sasuke Uchiha. A man who I would say has shown very little interest with the girl who has a crush on him. In fact, I would argue that it's the opposite. But Sakura continues with this delusional notion that she loves Sasuke. As you can tell from that little excerpt, I do not like Sakura. As a matter of fact, I hate her. And without any doubt or hesitation, I consider her the absolute worst character in the entire franchise. I could easily make a video as to why I think that, but I'm not going to for two reasons. One, it's not the subject of this video, and two, many people have made videos bashing her, and I don't think I can add anything new to that conversation. Now, I'm going to try and focus on the relationship with Sasuke, and that is going to be a challenge since a lot of the things she says and does involve Sasuke. So, let's start from the beginning. When Kakashi asked his new team, Team 7, about why they became ninjas and their goals overall. Naruto wants to be Hokage, Sasuke implying he wants revenge on a certain person, i.e. Itachi, while for Sakura, she looks at Sasuke and starts giggling like a schoolgirl. So you're telling me you practically became a child soldier because you like a boy. Not a good start. Then we have the instance where Sakura was saying stuff about Naruto not having parents, where she offends Sasuke and leads to him calling her annoying. Did Sakura not know that Sasuke was an orphan too? Regardless of the answer, it makes her look bad either way. Or how about the instance where she ended her friendship with Ino, who defended her from bullies when they were kids, because she happens to have a crush on Sasuke too. She went out of her way to protect you, and this is how you repay her? Wow, Ino deserves better. Though her wanting to abandon the village and follow Sasuke, who was planning to defect because she didn't want to be left alone and loves him, hands down her worst moment in part 1. Then we get to part 2, Shippuden. At the beginning, she started off on the right foot. During the Kazekage retrieval arc, she was at her best, and this is coming from someone who hates her guts. This fight with Sakura and Lady Chiyo versus Sasori was good. Now I know some will say that Lady Chiyo was the one who carried the fight, and I disagree. Sakura contributed to the fight in a meaningful manner. Both needed each other for it. Now everything after this point, where it all goes downhill from here. The moment she sees Sasuke during the Tenchi Bridge arc, that is all she is thinking about. Leading to the culmination of the encounter she has with him after the incident at the 5 Kage Summit. At this point, Sasuke has entered full edgelord territory, and has done many actions that has led to some believing that he needs to be put down, such as joining the Akatsuki, trying to abduct Killer Bee and the Eight Tails, and tried to kill the 5 Kage. Killed Danzo, but I don't think anyone cares about that last one, but it's worth mentioning nonetheless. So effectively, Sasuke is a villain. The reason as to why I am explaining all of this is for context, to see how far Sasuke has fallen. Now back to Sakura. She decides it would be for the best that she should kill Sasuke. However, she decides she wants to do it alone, which leads to her drugging her team to confront Sasuke alone. What happens next? Sasuke tries to kill her, and when she had a moment to try and attack him, she couldn't and begins to cry and says she loves him too much. This right here is what I consider to be her absolute worst moment. And yes, I believe this is worse than her trying to convince Naruto that she loves him. Then one last thing worth mentioning would be when Team 7 was facing off against Madara, and Sakura charges him and ends up stabbing her. Then afterwards, she gets mad because Sasuke was not concerned about her. Jesus fucking Christ, woman, you are fighting a literal ninja god at this point, and that's what you care about? Ugh, I feel a migraine. Take a break.
20 minutes later.
I cannot emphasize how much I hate this relationship. It is one-sided. Just because Sasuke does the little forehead tap to Sakura, like how Itachi did to him, is to represent that he loves her after everything that has happened? No. Just no. That's wrong on many levels. If I was writing this, I would not have the two of them get together. It is my own personal headcanon that the only reason as to why Sasuke got together with Sakura was a penance for all the crimes he committed. It was either this or a life sentence. And if you ask me, he picked the wrong choice. Sakura is the worst. She cries, bitches, complains, and throws tantrums because her Sasuke-kun doesn't want anything to do with her. The love she has for him is nothing more than surface level and is shallow. She loves him because she thinks he is attractive, and that is the only reason she likes him. Compare that to Hinata, who actually respects Naruto and aspires to be someone like him because she is motivated by him. What motivates Sakura? That Uchiha dick and nothing else. But by some miracle, she gets the guy she has fantasized and objectified for her entire life and gets her happily ever after? Bullshit. I'm done talking about this one. Next topic.
Sexy Jutsu!
When examining these three relationships, you begin to notice a certain trend with them. It is always the female character who has these intense feelings towards the male character. It is never the other way around. Sure, you see instances of a guy having a crush on a girl, such as Naruto and Rock Lee having a crush on Sakura, or how some guys can be a bit lecherous, such as Jiraiya or Naruto, though in that case it can be argued that it's either done for comedic purposes, or that's such a small part of their overall character that doesn't truly change them. Like in the instance of Kakashi liking his Makeout Paradise books. You never see a guy acting like Sakura, the same way she was acting towards Sasuke. I guess the big takeaway is that these girls are boy crazy. However, it doesn't stop at Ino, Hinata, and Sakura, as there are other women out there who are, to a varying degree, kind of like them. Take, for example, Kurenai. She is a Jonin, a Genjutsu specialist, and is the sensei for Hinata, Kiba, and Shino. Now that may sound impressive, but her overall track record in the series is not. There are only two things she's known for. The first is trying to put Itachi in a genjutsu, which everyone memes on her about, which I think is unmerited, but I've already ranted on that subject before, not interested in rehashing it. Then the second being is Asuma's baby mama. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe she ever does ninja stuff again after giving birth to her daughter. Instead, she just becomes a forgotten background character that is shown from time to time when we see Shikamaru, since he promised Asuma when he died he would look after his child, which makes Kurenai herself nothing more than an afterthought. Which is a shame, since she's supposed to be a high-tier ninja, comparable to the likes of Kakashi, Asuma, and Guy. Speaking of high-tier ninja, let's talk about Mei. Or is it pronounced Mai? Who cares? We know who I'm talking about, and that would be the Mizukage. I would say out of all the other Kage, she's the one that feels the least important. Like, the others say and do things that are more substantial, while for her, I'm not going to say she's a bad leader, but the one thing that always stands out is the reoccurring joke about her thoughts about wanting to get married and becoming depressed about it. Then following up with anger and lashing out on someone, mainly her subordinate, the guy with the eye patch. Like I said, she's one of the 5 Kage, and is one of the most important figures in the ninja world. Not to mention she has not one, but 2 Gekkei Genkai, but I will forgive you for forgetting that, since the only thing they have the Mizukage do is thinking about how she is not married and flirting with guys that are very much younger than her. How about Kari? Can't forget about her, though to keep it simple, she's just Sakura with glasses. Yes, there are some key differences between the two, but let's be real honest, they are more or less the same person. They act the same way. One last person I feel like should get mentioned is Konan. I forget when this took place, it might have been during the Hidan and Kakuzu arc, but it was when Pain was talking what motivates every member of the Akatsuki. Then it got to Konan, or her silhouette. He said love for her, since she was in love with Yahiko and has love for Nagato. Now, I'm not going to say she is as bad as the other women, but I do think that we all wish that more was done with Konan, since she has hands down one of the coolest abilities in the series. But the cold hard fact of the matter is Pain, objectively speaking, was more compelling than Konan. I mean, he is the leader of the Akatsuki, had the Renegon, and he also killed Jiraiya too, so he was always going to overshadow her, which kind of adds her on the pile of women who are shackled to a male character. One common criticism I hear often when it comes to the ladies of Naruto is that Kishimoto can't write women. I disagree with that statement. I think the issue is about how they are used and how they are written, not the fact that they are women. I mean, for one, that there are several female characters that aren't boy crazy and whole existence isn't interdependent on one, like Tsunade, Shizune, Tamari, Tenten, Anko, and Lady Chio. While true that some of those characters, such as Tenten, don't have meaningful screen time, but I would rather have her have no screen time than to her end up like the rest of the Konoha girls, because I like Tenten because she is not boy crazy like them, and is more focused on being a ninja compared to them. Not to mention the gender of a character is kind of irrelevant. Take for example, if we gender bend any of the girls, it doesn't change anything. They are still the same person. The only difference is that they would be a bunch of boys who are girl crazy, and we would be just as critical of them, if not more so. Besides, let's not pretend that only the females are the ones who are not used well. I think we can all think of a few male characters that deserve better. Now, what is the point I'm trying to make? It's that the issue with these women is not that Kishimoto can't write women, it's bad writing and bad characterization. Now, if you want to blame the writer for that, go ahead, though I feel like with a series as large as Naruto, consisting of legions of characters, not every one of them is going to be able to get the rub and be great. That's an unfortunate reality. However, that isn't an excuse for how certain characters turned out.
Sexy Jutsu!
Many of these relationships have their fair share of issues, mainly with the female halves of them. I think there's only one relationship that I feel that is both not forced, since it happens in a natural way, and doesn't turn the girl into a simp, and yes, women can be simps. That relationship would be Shikamaru x Tamari. This one right here is the best relationship out of all the others. as the two of them start off as adversaries, then began to work alongside one another, to then establishing a romantic connection. Not to mention, I do like the two of them together. I feel like that about does it here. I more or less covered everything I wanted to talk about. Like I said earlier, I would not qualify the subject of romance to be the biggest issue, and that there are probably better things to be critical about when it comes to this series, but I thought it was an interesting topic nonetheless. Now tell me, what are your thoughts about some of these relationships? Do you like who got together with who, or do you prefer that one character should have gotten together with another one? Tell me in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. Until next time, I will catch you all on the flip side.